Welcome back to episode 24 of the Swider Show, the Kobe episode of the Swider Show.
Chris Laval episode as well.
Chris Laval episode. Yep, that's our 26th time in 24 episodes mentioning Chris Laval. So shout out Chris. If you guys don't know Chris, former walk-on at Syracuse, one of our great friends. So, but yeah, Patty, pretty eventful week, not only for Syracuse, obviously naming Red Austrie the head coach, like we discussed last episode, but a lot of exciting news with the tournament, with NBA MVP race, and
you're tipping it's copycat league. You're
we'll tip it a little bit. We'll tip it a little bit. But with the bracket coming out, this is always like a super fun week in college basketball.
Yeah, I think it's any basketball fan. This is towards the top of best weeks of the entire calendar year. Last night, you see the bracket in your hands, and it's just exciting, is all it is. Yeah. And especially for 9-to-5ers like myself, workers like myself, this is just a great week to like work from home, do your thing, and watch like 28 hours of college basketball.
People say this Thursday, Friday of March Madness is like people's Christmas.
Yeah, I mean, as far as sports days of the year go, there's really nothing. Like, there's different feelings throughout the calendar year, but like there's nothing that rivals this, in my opinion. It's just so unique.
You think it's better than the Super Bowl? Would you make that hot
take? Oh
yeah,
100%. I mean, the Eagles will play in this next like 12 Super Bowls, so maybe not that, but. As far as, I mean, it's just wall to wall, 12:47 a.m. or p.m. start. And then it goes till like midnight.
Yeah.
There's madness, great. There's chaos, there's a lot going on. But
I'm going to be waking up having a coffee and watching March Madness.
Yeah. How's that going to go at the Pacific time? 9:30.
No, I'm going to be in Austin, Texas.
Oh, right.
Playing with the Austin Spurs. So, but yeah, early wake up. Watch some hoops, get ready for my game on Thursday night. But yeah, it will be.
I was going to say I actually had that as a question for you because I've always wondered, like, being on the Pacific time, that kind of sucks in a way. Like that's one of the times where it's like, oh, the time change here is kind of ass. Yeah. Like being 3 hours behind the 9:30 tip. Although it is kind of cool, like as soon as you wake up, it's there. But
I loved watching Syracuse at 4 p.m. this year. I don't know. It was great getting out of practice around 2:30. I mean, you were here. You kind of know my schedule.
Yeah.
And then you only have an hour to wait till take a quick nap and Syracuse is playing.
The other thing is the game ends. It's like 6 o'clock. You have the whole night. And then say it's a late tip. Sometimes they do the 9 o'clock starts at the Dome. Even in that case, it's 8 p.m. when it's over.
You know what I mean? You could watch right after.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You could watch a movie. You could go get some ice cream. You could go get some pops with your friends, Syracuse, or celebrate the Syracuse win. It's like it's endless nighttime left. Whereas on the East Coast, it's like 11 p.m. You're already in the feathers. But
yeah.
Swider, you said before we started recording, you gave a line about why you haven't filled out a bracket yet. If you'd like to share that with the audience.
If Syracuse ain't playing, I ain't watching.
Yeah, there we go. All right, we just spent 2 minutes on how we're going to watch the entire thing, but that's a nice pander line there. I'll take that. I'll accept that.
It was funny. It was funny today. We're in the locker room. I threw out that line in the locker room with the South Bay team, and obviously we have Fabian White who plays for Houston, who played for Houston. Obviously, legendary career at Houston. They're the number 2 overall seed. He's all excited for March Madness, and I would say Fabian and I are the 2 biggest like advocates for our former schools, right?
Right.
And it's funny because Fabian went to Houston for 5 years and I was at Syracuse for 1 year. So there's a little bit of a time disparity. So Scotty's giving me crap about, hey, like, why are you so into Syracuse? I was like, you don't understand. You don't understand until you're on campus. Like,
it is different.
How different it is and like how much people like want to go back and be a part of the program. So, yep, I'm Syracuse through and through. I bleed orange, and I'm going to stay with that.
That is kind of a layup line from one of your teammates, though. If you're like busting balls in the locker room, you're like, dude, come on, you were there for 1 year.
Exactly.
There's no way you care about it that much. Like that's just a predestined, like easy line to throw at one of your teammates to make fun of them. And I don't know. I can't pile on there, Swider, as much as I'd like to, because I feel the exact same way. And I was there for the exact same amount of time.
A little bit less amount of time than me. Probably 2 months less than me.
Oh yeah, because of the summer. I also,
Yeah.
I showed up and everyone was like, "Who the hell's that?" Whereas you were very prized possession when you showed up. But yeah, this week is just so exciting. But I do think in talking about Syracuse, last week we spent so much time, deservedly so, talking about Coach Boeheim, but it became official. There was the press conference on Friday morning, um, and it was weird again to watch. It was sort of sad, sort of bittersweet in a way because you watch Coach Boeheim. He had a lot of good Boeheim lines in there. He was very funny, very humorous, but also was very like touching.
Yeah.
I think so many people are happy to see he said he'll stay involved with the program. I don't think that comes as a surprise from any like diehard fans or guys like us that were around the Boeheims every day. I don't think he had any intention of leaving Syracuse or going elsewhere. So yeah, he said he'd be involved in some capacity, but and then Red takes the stage, and he was awesome. He just looked very comfortable, and it's definitely like that gave you excitement as a Syracuse fan going forward.
And I think what's even cooler is that I don't know if you're a big Twitter guy, but I've seen Red in like 6 different gyms since he took the job. Like he's out there recruiting. I know he's in the portal doing his thing. And yeah, I'm super excited for where Red's gonna take this program. It's a new energy.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be a new style of play. I think when you have the same coach for 47 years, it's easy to bash on the coach, right? But obviously, like he was so dominant for so long that when you have one season that's like, all right, like it's like a normal
Yeah,
season for any other high major program. You're spoiled and you're used to going to the Sweet 16 every year. Like I get it. You know what I mean? It's easy to we need a new face. Obviously, Boeheim is one of the greatest coaches to ever do it, and I think we've kind of seen the love and respect of him through all media outlets since the press conference, which has been great, deservingly so.
mm-hmm.
So, but it's just great to see Red out there recruiting, working hard, and GMAC and the whole entire staff just getting after it. And then it was cool to see Coach Boeheim be able to go see Buddy,
Yeah, exactly. On the flip side,
go
I was
see
gonna say,
Buddy
mm-hmm.
O'Shea, and kind of enjoy retirement. I mean, this is his first 4 days off in his lifetime.
Yeah, literally. But yeah, it's actually funny you say that because on Saturday I was walking in the streets of New York. Guess who I
Yeah,
ran into? Swider,
let me guess, an
Adrian
Autry.
Autry. Yes,
Wow.
junior. I think it's junior.
Yeah.
Um, might be the third. Who knows? But yeah, I ran into him on Saturday morning, and he was just like, "Yeah, like Red's already out there recruiting. Like him, GMAC, Pete, and Coach Griff were already in Philly, I think it was, and then they're headed to New York City, I think today or Tuesday night. So yeah, they seem fired up. They're hitting the trails pretty hard. So yeah, it's very exciting, but it
What
also comes as like no surprise.
one of the great interviews I saw, Red did an interview with Matt Park, and Matt Park said that even though you're only moving one to
For those who don't know Matt Park by his name, he is the voice of the Orange. So anytime
yep,
you watch on ACC Network, I'm pretty sure he does radio as well. But
yeah,
any home game from Syracuse that you watch that's not Dan Schulman, the national guys, it's Matt Park's voice you're hearing. So great dude.
does a great job. Super loyal Syracuse guy, and obviously great friend of Patty and mine. But he had an interview with Red, and you go from suggestions to decisions now, and I thought that was such a cool thing because it's like Red has been the suggestion guy, right, or the strong suggestion guy for the past 10 years, 15
Mm-hmm.
years, 20 years. And he went from the Dobo to assistant to associate head coach, and now he
Worked his
finally
way up. Mm-hmm.
gets his chance. And I thought that was such a cool way of just showing like not only did he work his way up, but now he makes the decisions now. And when he's going out recruiting like he always has, now it's his chance to
Yeah, it's his
fully offer
final
the
call.
guys. So I think it's just so cool. I think Red's ready for the moment. He's been such a great person for me in my career. And when I went back to Syracuse, it was just like seeing like an good old friend, man. And one thing I will say though is that when you're the head coach, can you be as friendly with the players as you were as an assistant? I think that's always an interesting thing
Yeah,
to contemplate.
that's the thing that'll be interesting to see because I really can't see Red not like acting like that and goofing around and stuff. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
I know.
Which it's just his personality. He'll definitely keep that. But like you're
Yeah,
saying, it's like it's definitely a different dynamic. It also goes to his line, like you just said, where yeah, like you're the head honcho now.
yeah.
But yeah, it's very exciting. The whole staff is just going to be awesome. But to our point of them hitting the recruiting trails hard, hitting the transfer portal, there is some news. We're not breaking news, but
There's
there's some guys.
rumblings.
Yeah, there's rumors of you know, some people joining the arm. So Swat, I don't know if you want to use this minute 90 seconds here to lay out a little recruiting pitch, or yeah, you just take it whatever direction you want to go in, because I think you have the more powerful voice on this subject within the show.
Yeah, I mean, we're obviously big Syracuse guys, and I hit GMAC yesterday. I was like, hey, if you need me to make any calls, make any texts to any guys in the portal, any high school guys, let me know. Like I'm one who's a full believer in the Syracuse program. So there's rumblings of JJ Starling coming to Syracuse. JJ Starling, Patty was here for his official visit last year, but super great kid from Syracuse area. Red was actually his main recruiter, so I think that's going to be a big thing. And there's been people saying Wednesday or Thursday, there's going to be a decision made. So I'm really excited for that. I texted him this morning. He didn't get back to me. I was like, it's time to come home with
Love
the
you.
orange
Yep.
and the orange heart. So, could you imagine a backcourt with Joe Girard, Judah Mintz, and JJ Starling?
Yeah, it's just everything you need right there in college basketball.
I think that might be the three best guards. I mean, I might be biased, but three of
In
the
the
top
ACC.
four guards in the ACC.
Yeah, like right off the bat, just boom. And then
Yeah.
we asked him today on our interview with Jesse Edwards. We kind of sprinkled in some questions about it, but I mean, if you start with those four guys, that's, I don't know if it's preseason ranked, but you're immediately like just catapulting yourself to the top of the ACC in the preseason. Very
I
scary ball club to play.
yeah. I totally agree. And then we'll see what happens with all the other guys that decide to stay or go. I mean, obviously, we'd love all these guys to come back, from Chris Bell to Benny Williams, Justin Taylor to Quadir Copeland to everyone. But obviously, those are hard decisions to make. And I transferred once, so I totally get where their minds are at, and really taking the time to decide if they want to stay with the Orange or trying to find a new home.
Yeah. What's your take on that? We'll actually go into the mailbag question of the week. I don't have it up in front of me, but we got a question about the transfer rule now, because a lot of people view it as, oh, it's ruining college basketball. There's too much movement, all this stuff. You know what I mean? Because you watch any college basketball game, it's like 4 or 5 guys are just directly transferring, and people are like, oh, it's way too hard to keep track of. What is your kind of thought process on that as someone who transferred yourself?
I mean, my first question is, who is it ruining it for?
Yeah, that's what, like, people are like, oh, there's too much movement. These guys are going to 3 schools, getting all fired up about it. Like, I don't know, man.
Yeah, I think the only people who are really complaining about it is the universities, because the credits and the APR and everything like that. So,
Oh, you're going school route here.
well, I can understand it from a school perspective, right? But from an individual basketball perspective, obviously I was able to take advantage of the transfer rule, and I do think that when you're a freshman and sometimes a sophomore in college, it's hard to make decisions because you don't know how the rest of the time is going to play out, right? I do know when you're a junior and a senior and you're looking to do a grad year or post grad year, you usually know what that last year is going to be like based on like what the roster is coming back. But at the same time, you never know how that year is going to be. So for me at Villanova, I never really considered transfer until after my junior year, and it was 3 years. We had the whole entire team coming back. So for me, I kind of looked at it as, I have my COVID year, so if I don't really want to do a grad transfer year. I'd rather go now and try and get my degree in a year. But what I would say is, if kids are getting persuaded to leave schools based on NIL, I don't think that is right.
Yeah, that's different.
That's the only thing that I think is different. But when it comes to purely transferring schools, who is it rooting for? Because no one complains about it during the season when your team has three transfers and they're all playing
Yeah.
well. Like, why is it messed up for me to leave Villanova? They go to the Final Four. I go to Syracuse, have a great year, get to the NBA. Like, who is that hurting?
Yeah.
I graduate from Syracuse too. It's not like I'm just going there and using their basketball program. So I would say for probably 50% of the kids it works, 50% of the kids it doesn't work. It's all going to even itself out in the future. Like, every single change that's been made in college basketball, from the 3-point line to the transfer portal to NIL to from whatever, like, there's always been changes from the one and done rule. Like, it takes time and then it all evens out. Yeah, Kentucky and Duke were able to take advantage of it now, but no one wants no one is doing really one and done strictly anymore.
Yeah.
So
Well, do you view it as an even playing field though? Because I think that's the other counter argument. If I were to play devil's advocate, where it's like, yeah, you could say that, like, basically the schools you just mentioned, Duke, Kentucky, Syracuse, like those are places where it's like they're just such a name brand that these kids who transfer are going to be like, oh well, I'm going to go to that school, and then they just end up being more loaded. But I don't know. On the flip side, it's like, yeah, that's just that's just how recruiting is too. So
I mean, when you look at it, it all ends up evening out, right? I think that it screws that mid-major coach who has a sophomore who's averaging 20 a game for him to come back for his junior year, maybe, because maybe he didn't want to sit out a year, so he comes back and he ends up finishing his career. Maybe does a grad transfer because he redshirted his freshman year or something. But usually those schools end up getting a high major transfer.
I was going to say, on the flip side, it's like there's definitely more. Yeah, there's more cases of kids that'll transfer down in quotations than instances where a kid's at like a MAC school, MAAC, and they're getting 22 a game as a sophomore, like you're saying, and then they go up and play at Kentucky or UNC or something like that. There's way more cases where a kid is recruited to that level, they play high major, it doesn't work out right away, and then they end up going to a school that's a little like in a lesser conference.
But like the same thing I said, like, who does that, for that kid to go to Kentucky, like, who does that hurt?
Mm-hmm.
The only people I would say it hurts is maybe that mid-major coach, because maybe he could be in line for a top-level job. But coaches leave all the time in college basketball too. So I don't know. It's one of those things where I think a lot of people have opinions on. They really don't know what, like, the source.
Yeah, I think it's a lazy excuse or a lazy take, because people are just going to agree with you. If you're just like, oh, I don't watch college, there's too much moving around with the one and done, the transfers. If you say that,
they love the NBA. They love the NBA.
If they say that at any pub, any local pub, you're getting at least like 50%. Like, yeah, you're right. But if you actually sit down and have the conversation, like intellectuals like ourselves, like we're having right now, there's way more like nuance and way more layers to it than just being like, oh, these guys just switch schools too much.
Yeah.
But Swider, with that being said, you didn't fill out a bracket. Do you have a national title pick at least for the fellas?
I'm going to go with the Houston Cougars.
Oh, no way. I also had them. I'm looking at my bracket. I also have Houston. I have them playing Bama in the final. I have UConn in the Final Four.
You just chalked it up?
Yeah.
Houston, Alabama?
Yeah, that's usually how it goes. But then I have UConn and two Big East schools, actually, and Marquette.
I told
East
Fabian,
champion, Marquette.
I told Fabian about 2 weeks ago, I was like, if Houston loses one more game, they're going to win the national championship.
The only thing is Marcus Sasser's hurt, but I mean, the other day he had 30. But to your point, it usually helps the team when they end up like losing their conference championship.
That's what I'm saying. I was like, they need to lose one more game. They need to get humbled one more time.
Right. Because everyone always thinks like, oh, like Kemba that one time just won like 9 games in a row. But it's like, that doesn't really happen. Yeah, it never happens.
The two Villanova teams, I mean, 2018 they won the Big East championship, but in 2016 they didn't win the conference tournament. I think they lost in the semifinals. They ended up winning the national championship, and then in 2018 they didn't win the regular season championship. So like
which is kind of
they
nuts looking back because they're like one of the best college
yeah.
teams in recent memory.
So it's just funny because like people just assume, oh, Villanova was the best team the whole entire year. No, they didn't even win the regular season championship.
Yeah, it's
Xavier
also.
won
I
it
mean,
that year.
if you just think of it in terms of, was Xavier a 1 seed?
Yeah, Xavier was the 1 seed
Yeah.
that year.
I was gonna say, if you just think of it in terms of like throughout the season, you never see 10 game winning streaks or 11 game winning streaks, and that's what is required if you want to win your conference championship and then
Yeah.
win the national championship. Now that we're saying that now, it'll be like I don't know, like Memphis will win it all now.
Yeah, Duke's already won 10 straight. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
They
and
might
then
as well
it's
just
like
finish it off.
yeah, go 16, but nah,
Yeah.
no shot. But anyway, Swider, that's any more on the bracket? Any more on college basketball talk, or do you think we can move into your big night last week?
Yeah.
Your
I mean,
your
excited for March
quarterly
Madness.
30.
Obviously, I'm gonna watch.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
Don't don't
excited.
don't, don't take that part to heart. But
Yeah.
try to last Wednesday, right after we recorded. Cole Swider, 13-21 from the field, 4 for 9 for 3, 31 points, 45 minutes played.
That wasn't correct, but I'll take
Really?
it. Yeah.
Wait, you
So
played like 40, didn't you?
if people watch the G League, uh, the overtime rules are a little different. So we went into overtime, and they gave everyone like plus 8 minutes when it was really like 2 minutes.
What was going through your mind during that ball game?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of got hot early. I think I had 12 points in the first half, so felt good going into halftime and just kept going. Got hit a couple times and made some big shots, and I mean they're a really good team. We struggled with them the night before, or 2 nights before that, and honestly just kept on just going with the game, doing whatever the game needed. I think one of my big mottos this year that's kind of been my mindset is just if the game calls for me getting 10 points and 7 rebounds and us win, then I'm gonna do that. If it calls for me getting 30 and for us to win, that's what I'm gonna do. Like the the way teams guard me now, it's so different based
In
on from a
college?
night to yeah, from a night to night basis because some games they'll be on me, and then some games like I'll be able to get a couple shots open in the first quarter, and then after that, I mean,
Yeah.
like the shooter's eye happens, and you just go from there. But I think it's been a good stretch of games for me these past couple weeks, and obviously having a big game this past game, and then had a weird one against Stockton. We're playing without a 5 man, so it's been tough to kind of like really find the five guys that
Yeah, you're your tallest guy.
it's crazy. It's crazy. I'm the tallest guy now. So Fabian White's playing the 5. He's doing a great job. He's doing the best he can, but he's 6'8" and he's naturally a 4 man. So it's just been really different.
Yeah. It's definitely like clunky sort of at times, I would say. But yeah, that box score was insane in that game. Justin
Yeah.
Champagne had 40 and 17. Nikola Jovic.
Jovic.
Nikola Jokic played in the G League for the night. No, but that kid had 26 and 10. Um, yeah, and then you were on the bench the last 2 games for the Lakers, right? The
Yeah.
Knicks and the what was
Raptors.
it? Raptors. There we go. Yeah, so I don't know. Like we say it every week, but the Western Conference right now is just nuts to follow because it's you guys last night you lose a tough game to the Knicks. You didn't necessarily drop in the standings, but if you were to have gotten a win, I think you'd go to like the 6 for the night, and then depending on how the games go tonight, it's like you could drop back to the 8. It's literally just like every single night you have to check it, or every single morning you got to check the standings to see where everyone's at.
Yeah. No, for sure. It's been a crazy year in the West. Everyone's so close. Like the Clippers are 2 games ahead of us, but in the 5 spot now. So it's just it. If you lose 2 or 3 games in a row, then you're in a totally different spot. If you win 2 or 3 games in a row, you're in a totally different spot.
Yeah,
And I think that's been the beauty for us so far is that we haven't gotten too far from the group of teams that are fighting from 5 through was it 13, 12,
yeah,
13. So it's definitely a close race.
yeah. The Thunder and the Jazz are kind of falling back a little bit, but um, yeah, it's just like a log jam of all these teams with basically the exact same record. So
Yeah.
very entertaining to watch down the stretch. Um, but Swider, before we go, there's a lot of people upset last week that we didn't do everyone's favorite segment.
Really?
Very, very, very mad in the streets. They had their pitchforks out, cursing us off because we didn't do it's a copycat league. Another peek behind the curtain here. The reason we did that, Adam Lewis, our producer, he wasn't able to join last week. He was sick. He's feeling better now. But so I had to start the Zoom, and my dumbass has like a regular Zoom account. So there was a timer on it. There was
Yep.
like a minute left at the end, so we didn't get to it. But very quickly, Swider, I just mentioned Nikola Jokic before when I was trying to say Jovic his name, but there's this week's edition of his Copycat League is all about the MVP discussion because
Yep.
on Twitter, on First Take, on everything, they're just like it's what they're leading with every single week. Seems like again for the third year in a row, it's Jokic and it's an Embiid battling out. Giannis is kind of in the shadows a little bit. But yeah, who would you give it to right now?
I don't. I appreciate what Jokic has been doing. He's been doing at such a high level. Like I think we talked about it a couple weeks ago. Like the one game I played against him, he had a triple double and like barely even sweat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He goes into every single game and he just has like this like mindset of not only like dominating the game, scoring the basketball, but he can dominate in so many other ways. So his last two MVPs were very earned. But I think for the good of the NBA, I mean, I might sound crazy by saying this, but it would be tough to see someone win 3 years in a row, right? Especially with the way Joel Embiid's played the past 2-3 years. Like he's not only what he does on the offensive end, that what he carries his team, but defensive end, he does the same exact thing. Like if not at a higher level. So for me right now, I would say Joel Embiid. But I would not be mad at all if Nikola Jokic continue his dominance and
Mhm.
end up with a third straight MVP.
I agree with you on Embiid, though. I just think since the last like 60 games, they've had the best record in the league. The other thing is, kind of to your point, everyone says, all these voters say it's like, oh, it's a year by year case, it's season to season. One, I don't think that's been true forever. I feel
Yeah,
like people in the past have been like LeBron and scenarios and Giannis 2 years ago. It's like, there's no way he can win three in a row, just not even a
yeah,
question. Now I don't know what changed. That's become like a common way of thinking where Jokic can win. Which, like you said, he's playing an MVP season, but I don't know. I think if you were to look back, you know, throughout history and you're like, oh, Jokic won three in a row here. Joel Embiid. Also, the other thing is like it'll be Embiid didn't even make first team All NBA one of these last 3 years. It just seems like how the last 3 years shook out. It probably should be 2-1 at Jokic. So I don't know. You could say what you want about the last 2 years, but I think like looking back, you'll just be like, yeah, that probably made sense that he got one and Jokic got two rather than three zip.
yeah, for
So
sure. I mean, they're both so dominant. They both mean so much to their teams. Obviously, their franchises, their franchise cornerstones. They're both young players in the league, which is crazy because they're both so accomplished for being
yeah,
young players.
it is nuts. It's
Um,
just like Groundhog's Day with 3 years in a row. It's like people pick their sides on Twitter and just fucking go at it. It's like you're
yeah,
either a
yeah, yeah.
Jokic guy or an Embiid guy.
Yeah. So I'm excited for the end of the season. I'm excited to see where both these guys lead their teams in the playoffs. But I don't know. To me, it's just like the way Embiid's been playing, even like the game winner. Like there's certain plays throughout a season that like kind of
Mm-hmm.
like crown you MVP, and I feel like
100%.
Embiid's had those plays throughout the season.
Mm-hmm. 100%. You could use the argument like, oh, he's in a bigger market, so he plays bigger games stuff. But I don't
Yeah.
know. With social media now, it's like you see every single thing that happens. But yeah, both of them. It's like it kind of reminds me of the Bird Magic when that documentary they have. I don't know if it's the Dream
Yeah.
Team doc or the specific Bird and Magic one, where they said back in those days you'd wake up and look at the paper and you're like, oh, he had 37 last night. Like tonight, Magic would be like, tonight I'm gonna go out and have like 28, 15, and 12 or whatever. Like they were like competing when they weren't playing.
Yeah.
It seems like Jokic and Embiid might have that going on a little bit where they definitely take it seriously and want to just
No, for sure.
I don't know pull away, which makes sense. But um, yeah, that went well again. I think that's around a stash wire the copycat league.
Let's do it.
But um, yeah, I think that's really all we had here for the
Yeah,
top.
great. Like we said, great interview with Jesse. Really excited to see what he does, to see if he comes back to Syracuse, which we would love to see, or if he pursues his pro career. So great interview with Jesse coming up. Like always, follow all of our stuff at Swider Show. Email us your questions at askswidershow@gmail.com. And let's just keep it going. Let's just keep it going. Super excited for you guys here, Jesse, and we're going to kick it over to the other side right now.